Breaking news from around your world on this Monday, March 18th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Officials said Cyclone Idai has killed more than 200 people in the last few days and destroyed nearly all of Beira, Mozambique's fourth largest city. Forecasters said the storm made landfall 4 days ago in southeast Africa with winds equivalent to a Category 3 hurricane. More than 215 people died from the storm, according to official figures in 3 countries. Hundreds more are missing, and more than 1.5 million people have been affected. The United Nations reported 122 deaths in Mozambique, and Malawi and Zimbabwe authorities said the storm caused 65 deaths there. Mozambique's president says that more than 1,000 people in his nation may have been killed by the storm, which many say is the worst in more than 20 years. He said more than 100,000 of his people are at risk. The Red Cross said that 90% of Beira, a city of 500,000, was damaged or destroyed. The cyclone cut off electricity, forced the airport in that city to shut down, and cut off road access to the rest of the country. Cyclone Idai first hit Beira last week and then moved inland to Zimbabwe and Malawi. A gunman killed 3 people and wounded 9 others on a streetcar in the Dutch city of Utrecht Monday morning in what the mayor said appeared to be a terror attack, touching off a manhunt that saw heavily armed officers with dogs zero in on a nearby apartment building. Authorities immediately raised the terror alert for the area to the highest level, and Dutch military police tightened security at airports and key buildings in the country. A few hours after the shooting, police released a photo of a 37-year-old Turkish-born man they identified as associated with the incident. The photo showed a bearded man aboard a tram in a blue hooded top. Utrecht, the Netherlands' 4th largest city with a population of around 340,000, is known for its picturesque canals and large student population. Gun killings are rare in Utrecht as elsewhere in the Netherlands. The attack came 3 days after 50 people were killed when an immigrant-hating white supremacist opened fire at 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand during Friday prayers. There was no immediate indication of any link between the 2 events. Thousands of mourners turned out to pay tribute at makeshift memorials to the 50 people killed by the gunman who attacked 2 Christchurch, New Zealand mosques. People from around the country showed up to leave notes, candles, and balloons outside the Al Noor Mosque and Christchurch's Botanic Gardens. Relatives continued to wait for authorities to release the victims' bodies 2 days after the Friday mass shootings. Islamic law calls for cleansing and burying the dead as soon as possible, usually within 24 hours. Authorities said they were conscious of the cultural and religious needs and were working as fast as possible to verify identities and causes of death so they can release the bodies. Preliminary data from the flight recorders of the Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 8 plane that crashed a week ago, killing 157 people, show clear similarities to the deadly crash of a Lion Air 737 MAX 8 in October. Ethiopia's transport minister, Dagmawit Moges, made the comments Sunday but did not elaborate on the similarities. Both planes were new and crashed shortly after takeoff. Both aircraft flew with erratic altitude changes that could have indicated pilots were struggling to control the jets. Thousands of people marched through the Ethiopian capital of Addis Ababa Sunday with empty caskets. Authorities have said recovering and identifying the bodies could take months. South Korea's unification minister said Monday North Korean activity at a missile launch site could be preparations for a demolition. Cho Myong-gyon told the National Assembly's Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee that opinion is divided among officials in the South whether North Korea is restarting missile-related activity or getting ready to destroy the site. Cho said the demolition activity could be happening because North Korea had been anticipating a deal would be reached with the United States in Hanoi in February. The summit between President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un collapsed and ended without a deal. The ministry's assessment comes at a time when North Korea has increased verbal attacks against the South Korean military. Cho, who has held working-level talks with the North several times in 2018, said there is a good chance Pyongyang is working toward demolition, but left open the possibility there are other reasons for the activity at the Sohae launch site in Tongjiangri. Cho also said it's unfortunate $8 million of humanitarian aid that was to go to assisting North Korea has been delayed because of stalled negotiations. The U.S. military is putting together plans to keep 1,000 American service members in Syria. That's according to a report by the Wall Street Journal citing U.S. officials. The preparations mark a shift from President Trump's announcement 3 months ago that he had ordered a complete withdrawal of U.S. troops from the war-torn country. The U.S. has been trying to negotiate a safe zone in northeastern Syria, key to the withdrawal plan, through talks with Turkey, allies in Europe, and U.S.-backed Kurdish fighters in Syria. General Joseph Dunford, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, refuted the Journal report, saying, "There has been no change to the plan announced in February, and we continue to implement the president's direction to draw down U.S. forces to a residual presence." Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said on Monday that his government would file a legal case in Iran against U.S. officials who imposed sanctions on the country as a precursor to action in international courts. Rouhani said at a speech broadcast live on state television that U.S. sanctions had created difficulties, including a weaker rial currency that has fed into higher inflation. The U.S. reimposed sanctions on Tehran after President Trump chose last May to abandon Iran's 2015 nuclear accord negotiated with 5 other world powers. Rouhani said he had ordered the ministries of Foreign Affairs and Justice to file a legal case in Iranian courts against those in America who designed and imposed sanctions on Iran. Rouhani said that if the Iranian court finds against the U.S. officials, Iran will then pursue the case in international courts of justice. Iranian complaints about sanctions in the international courts have occasionally succeeded. In October, judges at the International Court of Justice ordered the U.S. to ensure sanctions do not affect humanitarian aid or civil aviation safety, a small victory for Tehran. The Midwest U.S. is bracing for more rain after record flooding forced hundreds to evacuate their homes, swelled rivers beyond their banks, and overran failed levees. Meteorologists said there will be more rain Tuesday mixed with snow, in addition to the heavy rain and melting snow that caused Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts to issue a statewide emergency declaration. The unwelcome rain could hamper rescue and recovery efforts. Officials said nearly 300 people and pets have been rescued from floodwaters. Interstate 29 was shut down from Omaha, Nebraska to Rockport, Missouri. The National Weather Service said major flooding could continue across the region until as late as Wednesday. At least 3 people have died from the flooding. Officials said the Missouri River level swelled to an all-time high, higher than 30 feet in Fremont County, Iowa, and a levee was breached on Nebraska's Platte River. More than 600 people are living in American Red Cross shelters. U.S. Strategic Command deployed 235,000 sandbags and 460 flood barriers, but its headquarters at Offutt Air Force Base was still flooded. The governors of Iowa and Wisconsin also declared states of emergency. Dick Dale, widely known as the king of surf guitar, died over the weekend at the age of 81. Dale, born with the name Richard Monsoor, grew up in Massachusetts, but his music came to represent the surf culture of his adopted state of California. Dale started out playing drums and early in his career played country music. The song Mr. Lou, which he recorded in 1962, made him part of rock history and resurfaced in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction in the 1990s. Despite recognition as an icon, Dale said he wasn't a true master guitar player. He once said, "The guitar players are guys like Stevie Ray, Eddie Van Halen. These are the guys that are really masters of their instruments. I'm just a master of just getting sound." And that's your update for this Monday, March 18th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for supporting this podcast and for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful week.